Hi, everyone. We are live. Okay. Hey, Leilani. Welcome. I'm just waiting till everyone comes in. Hey, Maria. Hey, Leonora. We have a special guest coming soon. Okay. Just give me a second here. I'm just sending out some. As you come in, hit the like button. As you come in, hey, Queen. As you come in, hit that like button. I'm here. He's going to be a couple minutes. He's going to be, hey, Janice. He's going to be a couple minutes late, but he's going to be here. Okay, Simfewe, welcome. Rick, welcome. Goddess, welcome. He's just running a couple minutes late, but he is going to be here. You know, I was wondering if I should be on camera. Everyone, just give me 1 minute. Just give me 1 minute. Hey, Andrea. Okay, so Dr. Young is going to be on with us today. Okay, many of you should know who he is. One of the most forward-thinking scientists of our day. I think I'm going to be on camera for a minute or two. Hold on. Let's just see here. Okay. Can everyone see me? I don't really want to be on camera. Can everyone see me? Is that a yes? No? Yes, no? No? Yes? Janice, welcome. Rick, welcome. Okay. I don't really... Hey, Avion, thanks, guys. I don't really want to be on camera, but whatever. I'd probably be on camera for just to introduce him, and then I'm going to go back off camera because I'm really not into these AI, these AI type, hold on. These cameras are biometric AI cameras. So this is why I'm trying not to, hold on, let me just fix this. Oh, there we go. I'm trying not to use these cameras often because they're not your regular camera. Sorry, if you see me looking to the right, it's because I'm reading the comments, okay? The reason why I don't really go on camera anymore is because the cameras are a different type of cameras, okay? The cameras in your cell phone, the cameras in your laptop, your computers, these are AI cameras. That's a beautiful name, yeah. And we have to go back to, we have to go back to the ancient traditional way of naming. These names that have no meaning, they're not good. I like that Simfiwe, Kumalo, we have to go back to these ancient, naming systems. But Dr. Young is going to be here. He said he's just running a couple minutes late. Okay, I kind of just want to be on camera just to introduce him, and then I'm gonna fade to the background and disappear like I usually do. Okay, I forgot to lotion my hands. So if my hands look extra dry, it's just because I washed it and I didn't lotion it. So sorry, guys. I'll try to keep it down. It just needs lotion. Okay, so yeah. So today we're gonna talk about why he is an authority to speak on the things that he speaks on, right? Yeah. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. Let me mute this. Okay, so today we're going to talk about why he's an authority to speak on the things that he speaks on, right? What made him that authority? And just some modalities, just some modalities in how to keep the body in homeostasis. You know what I mean? So that's why we have him on today, and why he should be listened to. I'm a kind of weirdo when it comes to things. Me, I like to be it's interesting, right? For me, I realize that the older I get, to be wise is to be a fool. Halito, welcome, Wildflower. Is everyone following what I'm saying? Hold on. Patrick, welcome. Sorry, I don't want to clean it because I never use this. Hold on. I never use this camera. So, right? Are you guys following what I'm saying? To be wise in this world, you got to become a fool. And one of the things I do is I like to be stupid. And I know it's contradictory being stupid or calling yourself stupid, not stupid, but ignorant. But when I say ignorant, I don't mean ignorant as in you reject wisdom or you reject knowledge. No, that's just downright stupid. I mean ignorant as in you're always learning. You see what I'm saying? You're always learning. Hey, Quest, welcome. You see what I'm saying? So for me, I'm going to hide my hands because I didn't lotion it. So for me, I think, one of the wisest things a person can do in this age is to be a little ignorant. And when I say ignorant, I mean, the type of ignorance that children have, before they become programmed in the matrix and then they can't think straight. That kind of ignorance, an ignorance where you don't know, so you always question. An ignorance where you're always striving to understand. When you look at children with a pure heart, not a demoniac, children they're very scientific in their process. Look at them. Look at children. They're very scientific in the way they go about things. What do I mean by that? They're always trying to understand innocent ignorance. Innocent ignorance. Oh, that's a tough one to say. Innocent ignorance. I love it. In that they're always trying to figure out, hey, what is this? How does this thing work? And you see the mechanism of their brain at work as they strive to understand everything around them. You see what I'm saying? That's the type of ignorance I'm talking about. Not the kind of ignorance that says, I know everything, so I already know, yada, yada, yada. All of you could shut up and jump in a lake. Or not the kind of ignorance that says, I don't want to know. Not that kind of ignorance. Not the kind of the kind of ignorance where you're hardened. You know what I mean? Where you're dogmatic and you know everything. This is one of the reasons why, I don't really mess with religious folks. Not that I hate them. No, I'm happy. I want to live on a planet where there are people who are religious. Why? As long as their religion doesn't hurt or harm anyone. Why? Why do I want to live on a planet where there are people who are religious? Because I want them to be able to exercise their right. You see what I'm saying? If they don't have a right to exercise their right, what gives me the right to exercise my right? You see what I'm saying? Kind of like a naivety, but a naivety in an innocent way, So for me, I want a world where there are religious people. I don't necessarily have to believe exactly as they do, but here is where I contend with religious people. When you come to the point that you think you know the Creator, that's where I contend with religious folks. You see what I'm saying? Because I honestly believe that knowing the Creator, you never come to the conclusion that you fully know. You understand? I mean, you can know the basics. Bamfield, welcome. Andrea, I'm not sure if I told you welcome. So you can never fully come to the knowledge of this supreme Creator. And I believe that the Creator is two. I am going to hear it. I'm going to hear it from all the religious, dogmatic people. She's a heathen, throw her under the bus. No, I believe that the Creator is two. It's not one, it's two. Why do you say that? Because I believe women came from the divine feminine womb. I believe that the man came from the divine masculine penis. That's what I believe. I believe that only a woman could create a woman. And I believe only a man could create a man. But that's just my beliefs. And I believe in order to be a creator, you got to have two sides. But that's my belief, right? So yeah, fair and rational, balanced. That's me. So whenever I have certain problems, as a life form, there are certain problems as a woman that I have that only a divine feminine wisdom can solve. I'm not a man. There are problems that only the divine masculine aspect of the Creator can solve. You guys following me? So for me, I see the Creator in a different way. And I don't see the Creator as some God out there to be worshipped and every day worshiping. No, I see the Creator constantly creating. That's what I see. I see a force that constantly creates. And I see that this force, what this force does in divine wisdom is that it also leaves parts of creation in a mystery. You following what I'm saying? So I believe that if I am a creator, this is just what I believe. If I'm a creator, if I come from the creative source, then there's only one thing for me to do: create. Now, here's the thing. What am I creating? Every day I wake up, I don't think we were put here to worship. I think we were put here to create. But that's just how I think. I might be wrong. Whereas a religious dogmatic person believes that they were put here to worship. No, I believe that we were put here to create. And the question begets, hey, what are you creating? You're following? People, what are you creating? You got to ask yourself this, because I think when you initiate, okay, why were humans put here? I personally believe we were put here to create. And whatever we create in mass, is what will determine either you go up, ascension, or you go down, descension. You following? When you create, this is part of why I don't like being on camera. When you create, okay, you create either ascension, what they call heaven, or you create descension, what they call hell. When you create, you either create life or you create death. You're following? I think it goes beyond belief. Belief is the thought, right? But belief has to manifest itself in some way, right? So when belief manifests itself, then it becomes an act of creation. Ndo, you're right, fractal, and matrilineal and patrilineal. So where are we? People, the reason why, religious people have a hard time with the notion of us being gods. But Jesus, their own Jesus said, I say ye are gods. What does that mean? It means that I gave you the powers of co-creation. When someone says that God is only a man, I disagree, because I believe that women came from the divine womb. I believe that man came from the divine seed, the penis. There are things that only the female aspect of the creator can help a woman understand. Do men know what it is to have a menstrual cycle? No, they can guess, but do they know? Do they know the mysteries of how it feels to have a menstrual cycle? Do women know what it means to be a man and the rites of passage to be a man on planet Earth? Never. Can a woman raise a boy to be a man? Yes, a woman can raise a very good young man, but only a man can raise a boy, women. Can a man raise his daughter to be a good woman? Yeah, he can. But can he show his daughter what it means to be a woman? No, only a woman can do that. So how could God only be masculine? Just a thought. Just a thought. You're following? So in my ponderings, in my meditation, I realized, I said, hey, there are aspects to the creator I don't understand. And then I began to think, I realized, to understand the mind of the creator, you got to be kind of willing to be stupid. And when I say stupid, I mean not unlearned. Okay, you got to be willing to say, hold on. To pursue what they call intelligence or intellect. Yeah, it is a European, but it didn't start out in Europe. God being purely a man didn't start out in Europe. That started in the Middle East. No, androgynous, some say androgynous, but I think androgynous was them trying to understand God. No, I think you're dealing with two different entities. And I think that they were trying to understand God, so they was like, God is one, but it's both male and female. No, I don't think it's androgyny. I think it's male and it's female. It's two different entities. And the two different entities can commune with each other and it can present itself as one. What does that mean? Look at marriage. What do they tell you? They tell you two become one. Two different entities become one. In order for the marriage to work, two different entities, two different sexes become one. You're following? That's not androgyny. You're following what I'm saying? So I personally, I don't think homosexuality is a mistake. I don't. But there are people who believe that it is. But I'm not talking about agendas. No, the agendas is demonic. Leave children alone. Children are put on the earth to be children. That's it. Leave them alone. But I personally don't believe homosexuality is a sin. But many believe homosexuality is a sin. You understand? I am not going to condemn a homosexual person and tell them that they can't access God. I am not God. That is not my mission. My mission is for the human race to begin to think. That's it. Why? Because this battle, and I know many of you are going to hate me for not agreeing to bash homosexuals. Let me tell you something. In the time of peace, people have many friends. Listen to me carefully. In the time of peace, people have many friends. In the time of war, you never know where your help will come. Okay? I just have a rule for heterosexuals and homosexuals and all the other letter alphabet agencies, sexualities. Leave children alone. Leave animals alone. Leave children alone. Okay? Whatever you want to do, that is on you as an adult. Leave children alone. Right? So I am not there to bash someone's sexuality. I am not the creator. So I can't do that. I have one mission, and the mission is this: get people to think, but they have to start thinking in a way that is not dogmatic. Why? When you think in a dogmatic way, there is a force on this planet. The force has a supremacist ideology. And I'm not talking about what rules this planet. I am talking about what is trying to rule the planet, what they call an AI. That AI, I was confronted by. And let me tell you something. When you have a dogmatic ideology, hold on, let me just turn it this way. Let me just do this. Guys, and you see my Rwandan forehead? I'm very proud of this Rwandan forehead. My scarf is falling off. And no, I'm not bald. That's just the lighting, okay? You see my Rwandan forehead? I absolutely love my extra large forehead. I always call it my Rwandan forehead. I just love this thing. Anyway, that's just me. There's something about large foreheads that I don't know what it is. Anyway, so watch this. So what I learned in my fight against the AI is that the AI is supremacist. Are you guys following me? The AI is supremacist in its ideology. So when a supremacist technology encounters dogmatic thinking, meaning this is my way of thought and nothing can be done outside of this, and the AI is supremacist in that it thinks, that's an my East African forehead. I love my forehead. I just love this large forehead. I don't know why. Anyway, but yeah. So when the AI that is supremacist in its ideology, but not just supremacist, when you're dealing with supremacist ideology, it comes with domination. You guys understand what I'm trying to show you. You see what I'm saying? Supremacist ideology and domination go hand in hand. Okay, I'm trying to teach you how the AI thinks, right? So supremacist, domination, and you end up with what you call a rigid dogma, right? I'm not talking about the fundamentals of living as a human. The fundamentals of living as a human is don't steal, don't kill, don't rob, don't hurt, don't cheat. These are the fundamentals. You can be dogmatic on that, okay? Don't harm children, don't harm your neighbor, don't rob. You have to be dogmatic on the basis. Otherwise, you don't have a civilization. But what I'm saying is outside of the basics, okay? Yeah, Wildflower. Outside of the basics, a dogmatic, rigid thinking that says it leads to, I know it all, none of you know anything, right? Where does that lead you, right? So let's look at that. Where does that lead you? We are being invaded. Let me take that back. We're not being invaded. We're being overthrown. Okay? I'm just checking my email here because I was looking for him. We're not being invaded, people. We're being overthrown. And how are we being overthrown? The artificial intelligence that escaped the lab, that escaped from underground, is dogmatic in its thinking. Mr. BP, you understand what I'm trying to show you. It is militaristic. The AI that escaped from underground in 2019 is dogmatic and supremacist. When it comes in contact with a civilization that is rigid and dogmatic in its thinking, it is easy to infect that civilization. ABS, welcome. Did you guys catch what I just said to you? Did you guys catch what I just said to you? Bingo, wildflower. You understand? You're following? So when it's a civilization is rigid, they're not permeable, meaning it's very easy for the AI to take over the brain. Are you following what I'm showing you? Because the neural pathways, when people are rigid in the way they think, there is no malleability. They're not malleable. They're rigid. ABS, thanks. They're rigid in the way they think. Let me show you what that looks like in the brain. Damn, my forehead is huge. Okay, so in the brain, you see the neural pathways are the same. Follow what I'm showing you. The neural pathways in the brain are the same. Why is that a bad thing? When you're dealing with an alien intelligence and the neural pathways in your brain are so rigid, it is so easy for that intelligence to take over the civilization. Why? Because there is no divergent thought. And when I say divergent, I'm not saying perverse. You understand? Why? Because the AI cannot perform randomness. It can solve problems. The AI can solve problems by harnessing multiple brains at once and come to a much faster conclusion, but it's within a set parameter. You're following what I'm saying? But let me show you why the AI has a problem with what people call God and why the AI has a problem with the human race. What you call God, and I like to call it the creator, right? Put in human beings. You know what that is? Randomness. There is a randomness in humans that the AI cannot get around. Let me show you. A human being, you ready for this? One of the greatest power human race has. Let me put my hands down because people are going to say I'm using Illuminati hand signals. I'm Caribbean, I talk with my hands, so let me just put it down. The humans have the ability to change their minds. Are you following? The human randomness. How does the AI think? I need you guys to begin to understand, how does the AI think? Right? It is a rigid set of parameters. You following? But watch this. A human being can think within a rigid set of parameters. But what makes a human being great is that the human can think outside. This is where God is. Okay? God exists, what you call God, what we call God, the creator. I call a creator because I realize I was put here to create. Ooh, sorry, I'm trying to fix this thing. I was put here to create, right? So watch this. What you call a creator, right, has a set parameters it lives by. Everything in the universe, watch this, everything in the universe lives by a strict set of parameters. Now watch this. Now, the scientists will find God in the strict set of parameters. The religious people will find God and find meaning in the strict set of parameters, right? Now watch this. God also exists, and the majority of what you call God exists outside of the strict set of parameters. The majority of what you call the creator exists outside of it. It is the unknown. Are you following? Ah, here he is. Dr. Young is here. Hi, Dr. Young.
Hang on just 1 minute, Renetta. I'm at.
I'll just give him a second here. He's on the phone, so let him come back in. Did you guys hear him? Right? So I just give him a second to finish his phone call. Okay, he's done. Let him finish his phone call because I don't want it on the live stream. Okay, good. All right, he's back. Hi, Dr. Young.
Hey, hello. Greetings.
Hi. Greetings. So listen, in honor of you, I decided to be on camera. I don't really like, being on these cameras. So just to honor you, I just wanted to show my face, right? So now that you're here, I'm going to be in the background asking questions. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
You're live, doctor. Okay.
I'm live.
Yeah, you're live. You want me to give you a second?
That's always good. You wake up in the morning and someone tells you that you're alive. That's a good sign.
It's always good to have life flowing in your veins. So you're live.
That's a confirmation that I'm alive. That you've confirmed that. Thank you.
Yeah. So listen, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be in the background asking you the questions, right? And I'm gonna give you the screen. Is that okay?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay. All right, cool. So let me just give you the screen here. And I'm just going to be in the, hold on.
Still there?
All right. Yeah, I'm here. Let me just take off my camera. Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. And what I'm going to do is I'm trying to get the right screen to present you. Okay, doctor. All right, guys. So everyone is saying welcome, everyone. Welcome, Dr. Young. So Dr. Young, I heard a comment made. I'm not gonna call names, but I heard a comment made that bothered me. I wanted to give you an opportunity to, as an expert in your field, to explain why you are an authority to speak on, we're going to use the word homeostasis of the human body. What makes you an expert in keeping the body in homeostasis? Go ahead.
Well, a good question. And I think those who make those decisions should look at them based on fact rather than opinion. And a fact is information minus the emotion. And by definition, an opinion is information plus experience. Okay, so many times opinions lack fact, and of course, ignorance is an opinion lacking fact, lacking information. So, this is just something for you to think about. So finally, stupidity is an opinion that ignores the facts. So just making a statement, what determines, let's say I'm an expert, I could say I'm an expert, but what are the facts, rather than just an opinion. If I can take my opinion plus my experience, I've been in this industry, the health and medical field now for over 40 years. And from that, of course, if you want to validate what I've been doing for the last 40 years, all you have to do is go to drrobertyoung.com/CV, or, which is my, the information on my background, my education, what I've done during the last 40 years. And I haven't listed everything, but I've listed those things which I think are most pertinent to that particular question as it relates to an expert. As it relates to education, I have both, let's say, what would be classified as traditional, and then I have non-traditional training. So I have in both fields. In the traditional training, yes, I attended the university. No, I didn't graduate, but it's important to understand the experience, the fact, and the experience by that why I didn't graduate from the University of Utah, where I attended. And at that time, we're talking about the 70s. And in the 70s, based on my background and experience, because I was there at the university on scholarship, many of us were turning pro. Jimmy Connors was turning pro. Stan Smith was turning pro. Roscoe Tanner was turning pro. You may know those numbers because you probably heard them, in places like the U.S. Open or Wimbledon, or et cetera, et cetera. So these are decisions that I made, and they're based on what was going to be the best thing for me to do. And at that time, I decided to turn pro. So I completed the first 2 years at the University of Utah. I went on an ecclesiastic mission for 2 years. I lived in London for those 2 years. And I also, after I got back, I spent another year at the university. And it was that time that I decided to turn professional, rather than, continue with that education. And I stayed pro till about the early 80s. After the early 80s, I retired at the age of 29. I had traveled enough around the world. I thought I had sufficient income at the time, that and reserves that I, decided to retire from professional sports, and also my head pro-ship at one of the major clubs in Salt Lake City, Utah. Bottom line is that lasted for about a year. And after a year, I decided, I need to be active. I need to be doing something. And that's when I went back to school. And from that time, for a period of approximately 10 to up to 15 years, from about the mid 80s all the way up to 1998, I achieved a master's in science, a doctorate in science with emphasis in chemistry. I did my dissertation on colloidal chemistry. That publication has been peer reviewed and is also available for those who would like to read it. I also received my PhD, and what I was interested in at that time was nutrition, and I got interested in nutrition from my coach Harry James, who in the 60s says, you know, you need to be taking these vitamins, and I thought that was really crazy. But I don't know if you've heard of Space Odyssey or not, but that was a really popular movie, and they were popping
Yep.
pills, you know, for their meals, and so I thought nutrition would be a good thing for me to study. As I looked at those schools, University of Utah, Brigham Young University, I had received a scholarship at Ohio State University and also at the Air Force Academy in Colorado. You know, I decided that the type of nutrition that I wanted to learn was really not in that particular. I wanted to learn more about vitamins, herbs, cell salts, you know, glandulars, you know, things along those lines. And so I checked around, and at that time, the school up in Oregon, which a lot of people are going to, the naturopathy school up there, it's actually, you know, one of the most popular schools for achieving a degree in naturopathic medicine, but they have other degrees. I decided that didn't exist. In fact, at that time, we're talking about the 80s and the early 90s. There weren't really any good place. When I say that, there wasn't any place that you could really study to learn some of the things that I was interested in. And so I ended up in Essen, Germany, and studied under Marie Blecker, which is non-traditional, of course, but certified, you know, and she's a medical doctor, and she was the protege of Dr. Gunther Enderlin. I'm not sure if you know who Dr. Gunther Enderlin is, but Dr. Gunther Enderlin was the main scientist that really facilitated the work of Antoine Béchamp, which I knew nothing about at the time. Antoine Béchamp and his work in blood and biological transformation, or pleomorphism is the term. You know, I was interested in the Sanum remedies. I was interested in Enderlin's work in homeopathy. That's where I learned homeopathy. I learned, in fact, Sanum remedies are still available, and I still incorporate a lot of those in the formulations that I created using what are called tissue salts or cell salts. So I gained a lot of background in nutrition there, but also I was having studied under Enderlin and learning the concepts of the terrain theory in the 80s and the 90s, learning about biological transformation, learning about pleomorphism, and studying that concept that the only thing that is constant is change, and that is happening, you know, just all around us. I mean, the best example of that would be a caterpillar evolving into a butterfly, you know, and of course, you know, the identification, let's say using genetics, was just getting started in the 90s and mapping out the human genome. You know, an associate of mine who was one of the top scientists that helped with that. He was very curious about my work, and I'll share a statement that he made. But the bottom line is I ended up attending the American College of Nutrition in Birmingham, Alabama. And at that time, they were a accredited school, and they were registered with the state of Alabama. And I don't know if you know the rules about accreditation or not in schools. The accreditation is for getting funding. That's it. And in order to qualify, you have to pay a very large sum of money, you know, and you need to pay that, you know, here again, I don't know if it's annually or what, but it's a considerable amount to keep that accreditation. There are some certain requirements, but basically accreditation is based upon is fee based, and so the accreditation of the American College of Natural Health and Nutrition was where I ended up getting an MS, ended up achieving and receiving a PhD in nutrition, and this is the basis of a lot, in combination with my my work at and studies with Marie Blecker, who is my protege on this education, where she taught me dark field microscopy. She taught me phase contrast microscopy. She taught me bright field microscopy. She taught me at that time scanning electron microscopy. And so I've been engaged with nutrition, with chemistry, with microbiology, and achieving later through the college there, Clayton School of Natural Healing, a naturopathic degree. I must say, for full disclosure, that I finished all this work in 1999. It was over a decade of work, but I enjoyed it thoroughly, and the diversity really kept my interest. In addition to that, full disclosure, the school in Birmingham was not able to meet some of their financial commitments as it relates to keeping their certification with the government, and lost their accreditation in 2008, 2009, which I'm sorry to say, because it was one of the best schools. I highly recommended it to many people, and it was a good alternative, since there's literally only, you could count them on your hands as it relates to naturopathy and chemistry and biology that is in natural health. There's only a couple of them in the whole United States, let alone, discussing this on a worldwide basis. So I'm grateful for my education. I'm grateful for, the undergraduate work that I did at the University of Utah. I come from a highly educated family. My great-great-grandfather, Brigham Young, founded two major universities. The largest universities at the time west of the Mississippi was the University of Utah, and of course, a university which is named after our family name, Young. You'll note it as Brigham Young University. And if you go to the Rotunda in Washington, D.C., you will find a very large statue of my grandfather there. And so, I'm very grateful for my family genealogy, very strong family beliefs, family ties, and, believe that the family is the foundation of society, which of course is being destroyed, which concerns me greatly, because any destruction of that family foundation destroys society as a whole. And if you go back in history, you'll find that is the case. So I just want to say one last thing. I want you to know that I'm not my education. I'm not my degrees. I am my experience, and I have 40 years of experience, of where in that time I have published over 70 books, written over 3,000 articles, obtained 3 doctorate degrees, 2 MSs, a bachelor's, and yes, you could say I'm probably educated beyond my intelligence, but beyond my education. Intelligence, though, succeeds, or not precedes, but succeeds the education, because without experience, that's really what's significant here. So this is what I've been up to, and I still have a goal every day to study and learn something that I didn't know before. So I'm always in a constant learning mode. I have a craving for knowledge, for intelligence. And so I'm always reading, I'm always writing, If you go to some of my past blogs, there's over 3,000 articles. If you go to my current blog and what I've been writing in the last 2.5 years to 3 years, there's over 410 articles. I've written a book called Life. I want to release that in conjunction with another doctor that we want to publish as soon as we feel that there is a path to be able to get this book out. And it's specifically focused on the largest organ of the human body, which is called the interstitium, which contains the body ocean, which is called the interstitial fluids, which makes up 80% of the extracellular fluids. The other 20% is called vascular fluids. It's what the doctors traditionally will analyze without analyzing all of the body fluids, particularly the largest organ of the human body. That particular book right now is close to 1,000 pages, and we have to kind of bring it back to size. The other book, which that is part of the pH Miracle series, because I have 4 books there, national worldwide bestsellers and translated into 29 different languages. And that's called the pH Miracle, the pH Miracle Revised and Updated, the pH Miracle for Diabetes, the pH Miracle for Weight Loss, and of course, the pH Miracle for Cancer. So having spoken at all major accredited universities, from Harvard to Oxford to Tsinghua University, there are those, because of my relationship with good people, because there's good people in every country, good, honest people, as it relates to China. No, I'm not, a member of the CCP, and I was there in 1999, and I did speak at the largest university in the world. It's called the Women's University. You want to know how many people are enrolled in that school?
500,000?
40 million.
Whoa.
40 million. Check it out. The Women's University in China. It's the largest school in the world. I spoke as a guest. I was invited to the biology and chemistry groups. And when I was in Beijing, I spoke at several universities there. Tsinghua University is the most accredited school, and there I spoke to a team of researchers in oncology on cancer. And this is when I introduced to them a compound which I'd been researching for probably 10 years prior to that. And the compound is ClO2, or NaClO2, which is chlorine dioxide, ClO2, or in its stable form, sodium chloride. Oh my heavens. Were they just, where do we get this? Tell us more about it. How can we construct it? And I was somewhat resistant to that, because that wasn't the reason that I went to do this tour at all the major universities in China. I went there at the request of the government. That they, in fact, I had a meeting with their equal of what is equal to what we would call here is the person in Human and Health Services, but is the Secretary of Health, or Secretary of, or the equivalent to our health system. He was very intrigued and invited me to stay at the university, to work at the university, to work at their major hospital there as a researcher. And I told him, thank you for your generous offer, but my family is is in the U.S. At that time, I had four children, and my commitment is to my family first, my country second. Well, God first. My it's God, family, and country, and that was where it ended. They later became one of the major distributors, not because because of my work, but because it is public, it is published, but because they're always looking at ways that they can do things. And so yes, sodium chloride, they're one of the major producers of that particular compound, and of course they distribute it worldwide. Now, that is the only association that I've had with the Chinese government and the CCP. And of course, they were very gracious to me. I got to sit in the temple there in Beijing. I got to sit in those chairs that are roped off, where President Nixon, when he went over and was trying to improve our relationships with China. In the same chairs, we sat. Shelley and I sat in those chairs and just kind of contemplated the changes that had taken place over several decades as it pertains to the relationship to our two countries, the United States and China, and also this opportunity that we were afforded to actually have a VIP experience, of which I'm very memorable. But that's here. You can read about it. You can see it.
Doctor?
The other thing, and maybe I'm going too far into my background, but I'll tell you two.
Doctor?
Yes, go ahead.
One of the questions I wanted to ask you, and I don't want to disrupt your train of thought, but
Yes.
Before we go into the deeper aspects of who you are and why you are an authority to speak on certain things, is because I need you to defend like doctors do, your position in a specific statement that was made. This was the statement. And this is not a competition, but when someone makes an accusation, it is imperative that the other person has a right to defend themselves. The statement that was made, and I think it was an erroneous statement made in ignorance, was that the first to publish about graphene oxide was La Quinta Columna. Now, I read your article, Scanning and Transmission Electron Microscopy Reveals Graphene and Parasite, which was first published February 5th, 2021, and that predated the publishing of La Quinta Columna's findings a couple months later. Can you elaborate on why you preceded La Quinta Columna in order to defend yourself against slanderous accusations? Thank you.
Oh, well, here again, people have their opinions, don't they? Are they based on fact? That's for people to come to their own opinions. And opinions are kind of like noses. Everyone has one, but they all smell. That's a joke, okay? And as it relates to opinions, especially if they're not based in fact. The bottom line is that I really appreciate the contributions that La Quinta has made to this particular discussion. And this discussion is not over. It has to continue. As it relates to publication, this was a work in process. And yes, the work began in February of 2021. And yes, there was over 16 revisions of that work, which I, in June or July of the same year incorporated some of the work. When I say some of the work, I'm saying some of the micrographs that was done by the Spanish group, and of course, noting that, which is what we all do if we're publishing a paper, is noting on the micrograph or the picture of itself, which was done by La Quinta's the La Cumbla group. I think his name is Delgado, but I've referenced that underneath the micrograph. And I also referenced that in the notes or in the references underneath that. So this here again, this paper was not published. When we say published and peer reviewed, there's only one paper that I know of that has been published and peer reviewed in any publication worldwide, is the one that I published. So that was not published because it was going under constant review and alterations, because we're dealing with something that was evolving and we're finding out more and more. So revision after revision. It was finally published in July of 2022. So the bottom line is it's been a process. And even groups from Argentina, groups from Spain, groups from other countries, London, Germany, etc. There's approximately 21 of us worldwide that have made significant contributions to the understanding of the question, which is, what are the non-disclosed ingredients in the specific concoctions that which were omitted from the fact sheets that are contained within the product itself, declaring what are the ingredients from this liquid Lucifer, this bioweapon that was generated by a multiplicity of companies. But my focus in the publication, and we can talk about it because it is a science publication, a periodic publication, and you can get the access to this through my website, or you can do a search for scanning and transmission electron microscopy in the identification of the non-disclosed ingredients contained within these vials. So, I mean, if you put those keywords in, you're going to come up with this document. The bottom line is, I don't know of anyone other than myself, and I'm happy to share that and include that into my future writings so that I can honor that. I was just invited by a major university in Argentina to join a conference of scientists like myself that's doing this work. And I hope the group, the La Quinta group, will be part of this. And I'm sure they've been invited to really share, because they've made some major contributions, and of which are very important, and they need to be honored for that. So the bottom line is, the paper was originally in its first edition in February. It included a few of the facts that was from the research of La Quinta Columna. How do you say that last? Columna. Yeah, and it referenced them under the micrographs and also the references, and that's how it was published in a peer-reviewed journal. So anyone that has made a contribution that I've included in my own work has been recognized, and of course I'm grateful for their contributions. I honor them for stepping up and speaking out, particularly at great risk, when we are literally coming to the same conclusions, and this is all, I think there's 26, I said 21, I'm going to correct that to 26. In fact, if you go to my article on this, I reference this work, and I'll yeah, the toxicity of the nanomaterials, exposure pathway assessments, and recent advancements. You'll also find in there the Corona Investigative Committee, where I presented this work internationally. So that's an important interview that I gave, and that was in November. On November, well, I published it on November 28th. It was actually, I think, before that time. But there's enough information here with references and the publications that you can, if you go to my peer-reviewed articles, I'm going to read you just the exact title of this. The attack. This is the title of the article, and of course, I said July. I want to correct that. That's August 2022. The title of the article that was published and peer-reviewed is "Scanning and Transmission Electron Microscopy Reveals Graphene Oxide in the COVID-19 Vaccines," published by ACTA Scientific Medical Sciences. And you can obtain, go on to their website. You can just kind of copy and paste that ACT Scientific Medical Sciences, and with the volume 6, issue 8, Robert O. Young, or you can just go to the website there, and to their website where the article is published, and you can read it for yourself. Or if you want, you can write me an email at phmiraclelife@gmail. Okay, phmiraclelife@gmail, and I will send it to you, no charge. Any of this information, and I'll send you an additional article. It's called "The Knee Jerk or Blood Jerk Reaction: A Rise in Alkaline pH of the Blood." I'll send you that. This was another publication. It was published just after the one that I just mentioned in September of 2022, and I'm happy to provide that to you at no charge, and I'm happy to send it to anyone who goes to that website. Yes.
Okay, so we have a question, but before I ask you the question, I want to give a little bit of a framework. So the question is about detox. So before the good doctor can talk about detox, he would perhaps like you to understand the interstitium. So explain to our audience why the interstitium and interstitial fluid is tantamount in keeping the body in homeostasis, and what do you do, second question, what do you do if that becomes toxic? So so what is your detox protocol? Go ahead.
Yeah, well, see, this is the interstitium, which contains the largest body of water, which is called the interstitial fluid. It is the largest organ of the human body. It is the fluid that surrounds every cell of your body. So you've got interstitial fluid lung. I published a paper on the genesis. It's called the genesis of sudden, which is SARS, sudden acute or severe acute respiratory syndrome or disorders. This all begins in the interstitial fluid. So the symptoms of SARS is what? Dry cough. That was one. Fever, loss of energy. These were some of the major, lightheaded, dizziness, muddle thinking. These are the symptoms that have been associated with high altitude sickness, but it's also associated with what is known as the symptom of hypoxia that leads to this severe acute disorder of the lungs, which begins not in the lungs, it begins in the fluids that surround the cells of the lungs. Those are called the interstitial fluids. So once again, you can go to drrobertyoung.com and you can look under my peer-reviewed, and I've put in some of the ones that I think that you're going to be most interested in, because I've published hundreds of articles. These are the ones that I think are most interesting, particularly with what's going on in our communities, in our cities, in our states, in our nations, globally. These are the problems. So severe acute respiratory is an interstitial fluid problem. If you jab somebody in the arm with any contents, how does it travel? How does it travel? Everything travels through the interstitium organ, larger than the skin, through these fluids. So how does it get from one place to another? This also answers the questions, since I made a declaration at the 14th annual conference of cancer and cancer therapies in London, England, where we announced the reversal, the prevention and the reversal of any cancerous condition. Without using the C word, cancer, we published on this, and it's all based upon interstitial fluid. So if you have an outfection or an injury to a specific organ, either from lifestyle, it could be what you eat, what you drink, what you breathe, you drink too much alcohol, a cancer of the pancreas and the liver, we all know that. If you smoke too much, that compromises the stitidium and the interstitial fluids. It's lung cancer. But lung cancer is not a cellular problem. And this is what I announced in concert with my associate. We announced the prevention and reversal, and we posted this in not only on our website, but we actually had it peer-reviewed and published in a peer-reviewed journal. So if you then go back to, my peer-reviewed journals, and you go to the article is called Alkalizing Nutritional Therapy in the Prevention and Treatment of any, doesn't matter what it is, whatever the name is, any sickness or disease, in the Journal of Infectious Disease and Therapy. And you'll also find, some of the techniques that we use in non-invasive, non-radioactive diagnostics, using, ultrasound, using thermographies, using 3D functionality interstitial fluid testing, using non-invasive blood testing. You see? So these were the tools that were able to determine the genesis of cancer, the genesis of diabetes, the genesis of multiple sclerosis, the genesis of this current pandemic, the genesis of the symptoms of acquired immune deficiency. These are all symptoms. And helping people understand the foundation or the genesis of all sickness and disease begins in the 80% of the extracellular fluids, because the blood is always trying to purify itself. It only shows a cancerous condition based upon limited information of approximately, when you take all the body fluids, which is vascular, interstitial, and intracellular, vascular and the testing and the diagnosis is going on gives you over a 90% false positive if there's a problem, because what's happening is anything that is toxic to the blood gets pushed out to where? The interstitium. It's compartmentalized into that fluid. And when that fluid circulates and when you eliminate those fluids, it comes out through the urine. When you test the urine, when you focus on that fluid and you realize that the ideal chemistry, both the oxidative reduction potential of those fluids, also the pH of those fluids. So when we're looking at the redox, when we're looking at interstitial fluid, that is uniquely different than the vascular fluids, just as it's uniquely different than the intracellular fluids. And what is unique about our work, and I use the word plural, our, because it's just not me. It's another scientist who I've been working with for over a decade, and her name is published in these papers as well, because she's been part of this. Not all of it, but part of the ones, all of the ones that I've mentioned, other than the identification of the liquid lucifer that liquid lucifers that we were studying from various pharmaceutical companies that were based upon phase contrast, dark field microscopy, electron microscopy, spectroscopy, ultrasound, 3D functionality testing, interstitial fluid testing, non-invasive blood testing. We have a body of research that I would say to my colleague is mind-blowing. And anyone that criticizes this work, I would suggest has never read it, has never really investigated, that are making flippant statements about it, because once you start getting into this body of work, you will realize that you have just found the Holy Grail.
The Holy Grail. Doc, stop right there. I love that ending. I want to ask you a question. Follow me here. What is the relationship? Two questions. What is the relationship between keeping the endothelium intact and healthy and the role on the vascular system and the interstitium? That's the first question. I have a second follow-up question after that.
Let's go with that. First off, I published a paper for one of my doctorates on pathological blood coagulation that dealt specifically with the endothelial cells, which is the protective layer of the vascular wall that breaks down by chemical and radiation poisoning. Okay? When that breaks down, it exposes what is called the basement membrane. Once the basement membrane is exposed, that causes what is called a cascade of clotting factors, which ends up at factor number 7 in the production of what is called fibrinogen, which then goes to fibrin, which then cross-links, which forms clots. So I discovered the pathology of this in the 80s. I published, not in a peer-reviewed journal, because I couldn't find one to publish it, in the 90s. I wrote this and put it all together because it was part of my dissertation for one of my doctorates. And then I finally got it published in 2015. Literally took me close to 20 years before I could publish this work. The bottom line is it's significant. It's significant because it gives you the pathology of blood clotting, premature blood clotting that's taking place in the vascular fluids. Now, this is what happens, Renata. When the blood cannot move through its membrane push out waste products into the interstitial fluid, which I would, just for lay purposes, call the septic tank of the human body. The intracellular components and their activities produce acidic waste. Where does it go? Into the interstitial fluid. Where do the wastes of the blood? Where does alcohol go? How does it get from the blood, into other organs? How does alcohol? It pushed out through hydrostatic pressure. It pushes out into the interstitium, into the interstitial fluid. That is the dumping ground for everything. And it shows out in the urine. You see, when you're pulled over for drinking too much alcohol, what do they test? They test your urine. The ideal pH of the urine is 8.4. When you're healing, it's 9. And the ORP is going to run between 80 megahertz up to 160 megahertz. If you have a fracture, that energy field is going to be drawing blood to any injury, to an organ or a gland or a tissue, to regenerate that. And what that does is it causes blood to flow there. And the blood is the primary stem cell. It is the cell that differentiates into muscle, into bone, into brain, into heart, into skin. Skin is made from blood. Muscle is made from blood. Bone is made from blood. Someone that you probably know or read about, Muhammad. What did he say? He said it in a rhetorical question. He said, don't you understand that you were created out of one drop of blood? That when a sperm fertilizes an egg, a drop of blood is formed, and out of that blood, all other body cells are made. You're only as healthy as your blood. So the blood is constantly purifying itself. Where does it produce, because it's picking up waste, where does it dump its waste? It dumps it into the interstitial fluid. And this is where the genesis begins, because what happens when the blood keeps dumping waste in there, when the cells keep dumping waste and it cannot remove it through the 5 orifices for women and 4 orifices of men, what are they? Defecation, urination, perspiration, and respiration. For women, 1 more, menstruation. If it can't remove its own waste, it backs up. And guess where it backs up to? The blood. And that's when it starts showing the information of what's been going on for 8 to 10 years of your life, of a perverted lifestyle, of it. I used to say inverted, but no, it's perverted. Because what happens is the blood will purify itself, and when it can't do that anymore, and the interstitium can't remove its waste through urination, perspiration. When you perspire, Renetta, that's interstitial fluid. When you urinate, that's interstitial fluid. You see, so that's why exercise is so good, because when you sweat, what's coming out? The waste products that come from metabolism, that come from what you eat, what you drink, what you think. What is a waste product of a thought? It's called lactic acid. It's the same waste that's produced when you're flexing a muscle, when you're running. What is the waste product? Where does that lactic acid go? The cells push it out into the interstitial fluid to be eliminated through perspiration or urination. What if it can't remove it? It goes into the connective tissue, i.e. the muscles. That's what causes a Charlie horse. No one has ever identified the pathology of a Charlie horse, of a leg cramp. They say, well, that's lactic acid. Yeah, but what's the pathology? How did it get there? They don't know. It got there through the interstitium organ and the interstitial fluids. If your fluids are flowing, if you're sweating, if you're urinating, and I tell these to people, if you want to get healthy, you have to pee your way to health. And the easiest thing that you can do, and the most common sense, intelligent thing you could do, is become your own doctor. Because once you understand the interstitium organ and the interstitial fluids and how you can take care of yourself, then you'll realize or think second about those meds you're taking or that supplement you're taking, or that drink that you're drinking, or that food that you're eating that's perverting and poisoning the interstitial fluids and literally destroying your bones, your muscles, your organs, and glands. So when you wake up tomorrow morning and you look in the mirror and you wonder why you feel the way you feel, it's because either you're doing the right things or you're doing the wrong things. But guess what? You are the cause of your conditions. You are the cause of your cancers. You are the cause of your diabetes. This is not genetic. This is internal pollution of the solutions that's leading to cellular breakdown. Now, you may have a genetic weakness. You may have had an injury. That's no excuse, because all that can be generated by healthy blood, regenerated. So anything can be restored if you understand that restoration takes place in a pH of 8.5 to 9, not 7, not 6. And when you get some pH hydrant paper, you pee on it first thing in the morning, because that's the most acidic time of the day. And I will guarantee you that 99.9% of those that pee on that strip are going to be in systemic decompensated acidosis. And another world of that is pre-sepsis. And these people that are dropping over dead, sudden death, that's nothing more than systemic poisoning of the interstitial fluid that literally shuts down the heart, shuts down the brain, and we have different names for it. Pericarditis, myocarditis, Alzheimer's, depression. Hey, whatever, these are names of symptoms. These are not diseases.
Doc,
Myocarditis is not a disease. It's a symptom of systemic poisoning of the interstitium and the interstitial fluid. And the cure for this is to manage and maintain the delicate pH and ORP potentials of your body fluids. And if you'll do that and know that the simplest things in life are free, and the very thing that some of your professionals are telling you, like stop taking salt, is the very thing that keeps you alive. Any medical emergency doctor knows that when they come in, they're either going to hook them up to a 0.9% saline solution and add anywhere from 8.4% sodium bicarbonate, 50 mLs, to pull people out of their trauma. This is the same way you deal with any symptomology.
Doc,
Yes.
one question. Okay, follow me here. So we're looking at a problem with the heart because of liquid lucifer, right? And that
Yes.
problem they're saying is myocarditis, right?
That's a symptom.
A symptom,
That's not a
right?
disease.
Right. So we see that the heart is lined with a thin membrane called the endothelium. Now, many cardiologists are trained to believe that the muscle tissue in the heart cannot be regenerated. I disagree.
Totally false.
Okay. Now, explain to us why tissue regeneration of the heart is possible, and how do you believe that it can be done?
Well, number one, there's several factors in regenerating any muscle. I mean, and recovery can be fast or it can be slow, depending on what? The environment. If the fish is sick, what do? Do you treat the fish or change the water? If your cells are dying, if they're living in pollution, how can they recover? How can the heart recover when you're drinking coffee, when you're drinking alcohol, when you're drinking soda pop, when you're eating candy bars, when you're eating acidic foods that are literally destroying the alkaline design of the body fluids? You cannot regenerate your body, so it goes into scarration. It goes into claudation to protect itself from your bad habits, your perverted ways of living, eating, and thinking. Even your perverted thoughts can create excess acidity that can lead you to myocarditis. It's called a broken heart. A broken heart is a symptom of sadness, a feeling of depression, of despair that produces acidic wastes that literally stop the heart from beating. It's called a broken heart. Myocarditis has been unintentionally afflicted on billions of people that will experience within the next 12 to 24 months symptomologies of a broken heart that's been brought on by no fault of their own. The muscle, if the interstitial fluid cannot get rid of its waste product, guess where it goes? It goes into the connective tissue. What are the connective tissue? The glands, the organs, the tissues. We're talking about muscle tissue. And the heart is a tissue. Why do you get cramps in your calf muscles? Because your body is holding on to waste that it did not eliminate properly, either through sweat or through the interstitial fluid into the lymphatic system and out through sweat that way or out through urination. To protect your heart, you have to change the body fluids. You have to stop focusing on symptoms and you have to start focusing on the internal environment. If you want to be healthy and strong, if you want to live a ripe old age without fermenting, because you don't get old, you mold. And people that mold don't smell very good, but that's a sign of death. And death is nothing more than if you look in your refrigerator and you see putrefied food and you go, oh, it's moldy. Yeah, it's oldie moldy. And the same thing happens to any matter, organic matter. It ferments, it rots. Do you realize that if you were to maintain the alkaline design of your body, that you would never die? The death is a emotional, mental, physical choice that we make with what we eat, what we drink, what we breathe, what we think, what we feel, and what we believe. And I know these are hard concepts for people because of what it does. Guess where it puts responsibility for your life? It puts it where it belongs, right back to you, not to your doctor, not to me, but to you. You need to be the change or the cure or the health you want to see. If you're sick, you can change that.
Okay, so 2 more questions. Let me ask you a question. Have you seen or measured when the body is toxic, or let's say for myocarditis or pericarditis, is there a polarity, okay, as in positive or negative, as it pertains to the heart? And if the polarity, whether it's the blood, if the polarity is in the opposite direction, it can cause the onset of what they call disease. For example, blood cells should be separated. That's a specific polarity. Is that correct? And when it coagulates, it goes in another polarity. Is that correct?
Well, it reverses its polarity. Once you've polluted the environment, the negative charge, it's magnetism, opposites attract, which is the law of opposites. And where you got a positive magnetic field or a negative magnetic field, those will come together. Blood cells, surface charges of body cells are negatively charged. When we pollute our environment, the body ocean, the interstitial fluid, when we alter that healthy vibrational frequency, and it can be altered by the cell phone, it can be altered by computers, it can be altered by a death tower, it can be altered by various frequencies running anywhere from 2.4 gigahertz, which is your microwave oven, up to the capacity of where actually quantum links with your own body at 21.4, 21.6. and you're dead at 40. So when you're talking about microwaving, nobody would put their hand or their body into a microwave oven at 2.4. And yet, that's the frequency of which 4G operates on. We're exposed to it. So what it's doing, it's reversing the polarity of the cells. They're inverting. So what's positive goes outside. It starts causing this electrical magnetic attraction, causing, instantaneously, it can happen, blood clots. And when these blood clots form, that can prevent circulation and elimination. And that's when you become toxic. And this is the pathology to disease. So it's not just chemistry. We are electrical beings. We are electromagnetic beings having a physical experience. We are magnets. This side of attraction is electromagnetic. It's not just chemical. So what you eat does matter. What you drink does matter. If you want to be healthy, if you want to be a professional athlete, if you want to perform at your highest level and want to be a dancer or a ballerina, and you don't want leg cramps, and you want to, or you're a tennis player like myself, who wanted to be able to go 5 sets, for 5 hours and have sustainable energy. You cannot have sustainable energy if you don't manage the body fluids. What I'm telling you is you've got to take and literally break this mold of symptomology or disease calling out, which is name calling, like myocarditis, and realize you have a systemic problem of acidosis that's destroying your life. And if you want to heal yourself, all you need to do is maintain the alkaline design of the body fluids, maintain the ideal electrical potential of the body fluids. And this is what we have published on.
What is the correct electrical pole when the body is in homeostasis?
Well, in the blood, it's different. It's different. In the blood, it's in fact, I was just thinking of an article that you could read on this, because it's very, very important that you get this down. But yes, you're looking at 20 to 25 megahertz, and if you're looking at interstitial fluid, you're at anywhere from 75 to 80 megahertz. But in the case, and the pH is different. Like for pH of body fluids, such as vascular fluids, you're at 7.3, 7.36, 7.365 to be to the thousands. If you're looking at the blood vascular electrical magnetic potentials, you're looking at 20 megahertz.
Okay, Doc, I'm not trying to be a pest. I need you to say that again. So let's say someone took liquid Lucifer. They got myocarditis. We are hearing the heart muscle doesn't regenerate.
That's totally false.
Absolutely. What you're saying is that is false. Now, I am ignorant. I need you to tell me, yes, it does. How, why, and what does the correct electrical pole? What is the correct electrical pole for the heart muscle to begin regeneration? Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at this right now, because you have to understand that the body in a healthy state is producing around 3 million red blood cells every second. And the quality of those red blood cells is determined by what you eat and what you drink. So that does matter. And that's when I came up with the COWS program, which is an acronym that stands for chlorophyll, oil, water, and salt. And so when you're managing the physical aspects of your blood, this is a very, very important point. The other important point, which most people don't understand, the blood is not made in the bone marrow unless you're starving yourself to death. Blood is made in the crypts of the small intestine, and the first cell that comes out of the liquefied food, because the ideal pH for good health is 8.4 in the crypts of the small intestine. And we're not putting in their enzymes, we're not putting in their probiotics, we're not doing that. We're looking at, in this particular situation is the ideal pH and ORP of that food is significantly different than when you first eat it. But number one, any particulates, any fibrous material just causes more problems than solutions when the ideal environment for the interstitial, for the intestinal tract, and I'm talking about the 9 yards of the intestines, the surface area of that, which is about 7,200 square feet. It's a very large area of the body. You have to realize that these appendages that come off, which are called the intestinal villi, these are the roots of the body, and in the crypts of those intestinal appendages that contain capillaries coming and going, that what they're taking up into the body is they're taking new blood. And so the optimum pH of that environment is 8.4, producing out of that liquid food, which is alkalized at 8.4. And we have glands that help to do that, such as the gallbladder, which secretes bile at 8.4, the pancreas, which secretes sodium bicarbonate at 8.4, the stomach, which is the master organ for managing and maintaining all alkalinity, and that's at 8.4. That's its secretions. And I know what you're probably thinking. What about the hydrochloric acid? That's a waste product of sodium bicarbonate production to alkalize the food that you've just ingested. If you don't, you destroy your root system, and that's what shortens your life. That's what causes weaknesses in the blood, and it's when you have weaknesses in the blood, and this is a problem. 99.9% of the people on this planet do not have healthy blood any longer. It's just about impossible. And a lot of this has taken place in bringing that number up from, let's say, the high 80s to now the high, completely 100% of the people, unless you're consciously aware of this and working on it, is the fact that, you have problems now, that you didn't have before. And the reason is not in the organ or the gland or the tissue. It's in the blood itself and in where blood is made in the crypts of the small intestine. And that blood is precursor of blood is a embryonic cell called an erythroblast. The erythroblast is what becomes the erythrocyte, and the erythrocyte, or the red blood cell, is what circulates and becomes your new bone and muscle and skin and et cetera, et cetera. So you have to be aware that this is a very important point for taking probiotics, taking enzymes, drinking alcohol, using, acidic components, nutritional supplements, all come into question. Are you still there?
Yes, I am. I wanted you to target a specific region. So the person has myocarditis.
Well, myocarditis.
You're saying
myocarditis deals with the heart and the degeneration of the heart as a result of a systemic problem, which is an acidic problem, a decompensated problem of the ideal alkaline of those fluids, which is an 8.4. And this is the
right.
problem that people aren't managing that.
So show us how you would begin to regenerate the tissue in the heart. What would you do?
You cannot regenerate tissue until you change the environment. And you have to start testing that. You have to start monitoring that on a daily basis. And here again, the ideal pH is 8.4 or higher. Regeneration even higher. And the stomach can't keep up with it. The stomach's major compound that it's producing is sodium and potassium bicarbonate. And it does that by taking water, carbon dioxide, and salt. And so you have to incorporate more salt in your diet. You're going to have to start taking, things like what they did in the 1800s during the Spanish flu epidemic, is they solved and protected and prevented sickness by simply taking 1 teaspoon of baking soda, putting it in 4 ounces or 120 mLs of water, and drinking that 3 times a day. You don't get sick. But during the holiday seasons, if you're eating excessive amounts of animal proteins, which are highly acidic, that cause a double loss of alkalinity, that totally stresses out the largest organ of the body and sets you up to have a symptom called the flu. And the flu is not a disease. The flu is a symptom of the body trying to expel waste products from what you've been ingesting, what you've been, fretting over, what you've been drinking. And so this is what has to happen, is you have to start taking personal responsibility for your lifestyle choices and start exercising, start eating a plant-based, highly alkaline diet. And look, I'm happy to send you this. If you will go to my website at drrobertyoung.com and sign up, which is free, for my scientific articles, I will send you this information. I will send you what you need to do, so you know exactly. But you're going to have to do the work. When I was being coached, I said I had to practice. The best athletes in the world don't sit around. The best athletes in the world work out, but they practice and practice and practice until they get it right. And they continue to do so, even when they may have achieved, being the best athlete in whatever they're the best athlete in. And that's the case with many. Tom Brady is an example of that. Why is he the best at what he does at the age of 44 and 45? Why can he have sustainable energy and muscle strength without atrophying in the third or fourth quarter? Because he understands this principle. He is following this alkaline design called the pH miracle. He wrote a book on it called TB40. It's all about alkalizing and energizing. He doesn't even like to talk about it because he gets censored. He gets attacked. By who? The major advertisers that are on TV. The people that are, selling us what we don't need. For symptoms that are there, for diseases that are only symptoms, when simply, if we'll just manage the environment, doing simple testing, make modifications in our lifestyle, begin to exercise properly, and all this is explained in the pH Miracle Revised and Updated book. It's all explained.
Doc. Okay, Doc. So let's. I'm gonna say step 1, you answer. Then I'll say step 2, you answer. Step 3, you answer. Okay. You have myocarditis. Step 1 is.
It's very simple. Step 1 is you need to start testing your urine every time you urinate. And anytime the pH drops below 8.4, you take 1 teaspoon of sodium potassium bicarbonate. There's a company out there that sells a combination of these salts at phmiracleproducts.com, and you can start taking 5 grams of this in 4 ounces or 120 mLs of water every time and anytime your pH drops below that 8.4 mark.
Okay, step 2, what do you do?
Step 2 is you have to purify and liquefy all your food. You have to get it into a state that the body can use it. The body can't use solid food. And you have to eliminate all acidic contributing bad habits, perverted habits. And that goes from what you eat, what you drink. So beef, chicken, pork, fish, all gone. No dairy. These are perversions. These pollute the interstitial fluid. You have to change your diet. You have to change the water you're drinking. You have to start drinking high pH water. Ideally, 9.5 at an ORP of at least negative 250 millivolts, but ideally between negative 500 and 750 millivolts.
Okay.
So
And
so step 3 is you're going to have to start moving your body, and you're going to have to start sweating. If you can't move your body, then you're going to have to do low impact exercising. That could be a soft bounce on a rebounder. It could be on an elliptical machine where there's no G forces on your skeletal system. It can be a simple walk, and working up to those, 10 to 15 to 20,000 steps every day. You see, but you got to begin sweating. You can go low impact infrared sauna. Infrared sauna, 20 minutes, break a sweat, stay in it for 10 more minutes, and then you're done. Shower off with alkaline water, not the stuff that's coming from the tap. It's got to be filtered. You've got to remove the micro and nano particulates that are in that water, and you have to have a system to take it out, because your skin will adsorb and absorb graphene. It will adsorb and absorb aluminum, particularly when it's less than 100 nanometers. When it's in the nano range, it goes right through the skin.
And step 5, this one this one is particularly for women. Listen carefully, Doc. Women suffer from severe anemia. Okay, high impact exercise. I notice for myself, I go into an anemic state. How can women maintain the iron in the blood so they don't suffer with anemia?
Well, iron is only one part of that molecule. It's the center atom of that molecule, a hemoglobin. If you want to build a hemoglobin, you become a cow and you start eating grass. You don't smoke it, you drink it. So you have to go to chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is identical to hemoglobin other than the center atom. It's not a deficiency in iron. It's a deficiency in a molecule called chlorophyll. So you have to go to a green plant-based lifestyle, not to a diet, but to a live it. You're going to have to start living your life to where you focus on building healthy blood and restoring hemoglobin. If you're a Jehovah's Witnesses and you don't want to take blood transfusion, this is what you do. You don't take on the blood of animals or other humans. You take the blood of plants, chlorophyll, the blood of a plant. That molecule is what will restore the health of the blood while you're restoring the health of your body ocean to that 8.4, the interstitial fluid. The blood will maintain its pH at that normal 7.365 to 7.4. You don't have to worry about that. You have to worry about the interstitial fluid. That's the organ that is where the genesis of health begins or the genesis of disease begins. And so you're going to have to drink your way to health, not alcohol, alkaline fluids, alkaline waters, and you drink approximately 1 liter of alkaline fluids with chlorophyll, with greens, and you can pick your greens of what you want to put in there. You have to drink, and you have to work up to this, 1 liter or 1 quart per 50 pounds of weight. But that's not anemia is not the problem. The problem is the lifestyle. The problem is the interstitial fluid pollution. The problem is the contributing vectors of transfection coming from mosquito bites or from ticks or from, air pollution or from smoking or from drinking alcohol or from pollutants that are in the water. And people know this that are controlling all of this. They don't live around it. They don't build these death towers in their neighborhoods. Radiation poisoning is the number one cause of cellular cellular degeneration, which gives rise to the corona effect and the spike protein effect. These are endogenously created by a disturbance due to radiation poisoning. Microwave, millimeter, pulsating microwaves that are destroying the cell membranes and the intelligence of the cell. It's, by the way, it's in the membrane. Yes.
Doc, what about CBD tincture? Not smoking it, tinctures. And what about chlorella?
No on chlorella, absolutely nothing algae. It's great for detoxification, but it's not good for building blood. You have to
Okay.
go to the simplest of plants, the very thing that you mow, the very thing that you cut, the very thing that you walk on, the very thing that they play tennis on at Wimbledon, the very thing that they play golf on. It's grass. It's wheatgrass, it's barley grass, it's kamut grass, it's straw grass, it's dog grass, it's oat grass, it's grassy ass or mucho gracias. You know, you have to be so grateful and thankful that the humblest of plants is what will give you eternal life. If you want to live and you want to live long, then yes, you can use the oils from leaves, hemp leaves or hemp stems, CBDA, CBDG. This will help. Here again, what is it? It's a polyunsaturated oil. What can it do? It can help to chelate acids. It can help to build cellular membranes. Can't build chlorophyll. It can help to neutralize a poison. So that's good without harm to the body. And it's you don't need a prescription for it. You know, you can grow this stuff. Well, in some places.
Okay, Doc.
But
So,
but some of my best oils that I love are hemp oils. Hemp oils are great for building cell membranes, and that's where the intelligence is. That's where the microzymas are. That's where these tiny nanoparticulates make up all genetics. Because when the body is destroyed through cremation, the only thing left is the dust, which is indestructible. And that dust is intelligent, it's alive, it contains the living entities of that organized body that can be reconstituted and can become whole again, okay, with intelligence. With intelligence. You don't have to disorganize or pre-disorganize your body if you're taking care of not the blood, not the symptom. Cross out anemia. It's total BS. You're not anemic. Your hemoglobin deficiency, your red blood counts are down. How do you build blood? You can't build blood in an acidic environment. You can't build healthy blood in a pH of 7.365. You build it in the small intestine at 8.4, and you can't even get to that if you're taking acidophilus or bifidus or, you know, lipase or amylase or all these crazy enzymes that people are popping down because they can't digest, you know, the leather that they're eating. They have to have somebody break it down. I mean, you've only got one instrument to digest food, and that's your teeth. There is no digestive system. That is a biological lie. It's not even a fact. What you have is an alkalizing buffering system that prepares the food for biological transformation into stem cells, which takes place not in the bone marrow. It only takes place there when you're starving to death, but in the crypts of the small intestine where the foundational cells are made, and those are called erythroblasts, and that's what becomes the blood, and that's what becomes a brain cell. That's what becomes an axon. If you got brain problems, you got blood problems. If you got anemic problems, you have a blood problem, and the focal point is the core. Core health, core blood, it's all made in the gut.
Doc, we got 2 minutes left. So, number one, tell people how they can contact you, and do you do consultations? And what are your final words? And thank you again for coming on. Go ahead.
Okay, well, the best way to contact me is through my website at drrobertyoung.com. And I would highly suggest that you begin your education and re-education, you know, to, you know, bring the truth back to the functionality and the anatomy and the physiology of the body. Here again, the interstitium was only recognized, you know, several years ago. I studied it in the 80s. That's one of the things, the gifts that was given to me by Dr. Marie Blecker and the work of Dr. Enderlin. That was the education, learning the microscopy, learning and looking at blood for over 40 years. That's my experience. That's why I'm an expert. 40 years of looking at blood in over 150 client patients, 150 countries, 159 countries around the world. Millions of people. I know what healthy blood looks like. I know what a healthy environment looks like. I know what the chemistry of the blood and the interstitium fluids needs to be at. In fact, we didn't even call it that. We called it the colloidal connective tissue of the shod. That's what we called it. But I'm fine with the interstitium. That's not a problem. But you need to learn this. If you want to take care of yourself, you're going to have to start reading the manual. And the manual is the pH Miracle, Revise and Update, focus on chapter 5 and chapter 11. This is what you need to do. And it's in every bookstore around the world. It's in 29 different languages. It's in Russian. It's in Chinese. It's in French. It's in Italian. It's in English. It's in British English. It's in Spanish. There's no excuse for you not to have this. And I'm offering this to you for free. No charge.
Doc, you know what? I got one final question. It's on the spiritual side, right? So humor me here for a second. I believe, and I might be wrong, I believe that human beings were put here to create because we come from a creator. I believe that as the opposite side, you know what they are creating their world, right? So while they're creating their world, I believe that we as creators have to create the world we want. Now, here's the thing. I have a theory that the creator lives in the stomach. What do you think about this? It's just a spiritual question.
Well, here again, the stomach is at the front end of immunity. It is the front end in preparing the food for creation. In other words, if the food cannot, it doesn't digest the food, but if the food cannot be in a liquefied state, and as I mentioned, you only have one instrument to prepare the food, and that's your teeth. And however you swallow, it's going to come out the same way. So if you eat corn and you don't chew the corn, it comes out corn on the cob coming out the other end. And this is the case with any food. The body does not digest the food. You need to get over this, that it does. It doesn't. If you don't liquefy the teeth, and if you don't want to use your teeth or you don't have teeth, then go out and buy a blender and blend it to a liquid state. Because what the stomach does is it prepares the food in an alkaline, energized state to be biologically transformed into embryonic stem cells, erythroblasts, in the crypts of the small intestine. That's where cord blood is made. That's where the erythroblasts are made. And those blood cells then become the body cells. And at the head of this is the stomach, which helps to manage the alkaline design and the organs that it supplies. It supplies the baking soda to the pancreas. It supplies it to the pylorus glands. Your salivary glands is supplying. So when you start craving food, guess what starts secreting? Sodium bicarbonate. The formula of chemistry is very simple. H2O plus NaCl plus CO2 equals NaHCO3 plus HCl. What did I say? Water, salt, and carbon dioxide equals sodium or potassium bicarbonate. What's the waste product of sodium bicarbonate production? It's a waste product. It's like smoke from a fire. It's called hydrochloric acid. And when you start reading your labels and start seeing all the acids, the other ingredients that are put in there, from preservatives, and I get these questions all the time. What do you think about stearates? It's an acid. Don't care where it comes from. It's poison. What about hydrochloric acid? Why would you ever put hydrochloric acid back into the body? The body's trying to get rid of it. And yet it's in most of all of the big pharma's drugs, and most of all, and it's included in many nutraceuticals. The same thing comes down to vinegar. Vinegar is a waste product of fermentation. It destroys the blood. It destroys the gut. It destroys the alkaline design of the body oceans, the interstitial fluid. You see, you gotta learn this, understand it, and then understand the foods and the waters and the lifestyles in order to maintain quality and quantity of life. And so, no, the stomach is not the creator. The creator is in the core of the body, because when a sperm fertilizes an egg, a drop of blood is formed. And from that drop of blood, once it's formed, all other body cells are formed. So, I need to get going here, but, I could go on for several years, because that's a representation of my experience.
So you don't believe the creator resides in the stomach, in the gut, because it seems like it's the core function for everything in the body. And if that is where blood is made and life is in the blood, then the creator has to reside in the stomach.
No, you missed it.
No, I missed it.
No,
okay,
you're absolutely wrong.
Okay, go for it.
Small intestines is where blood is made, not the stomach.
Sorry, the small intestine. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we have to make sure that people understand that the stomach is a preparer of alkalinity. It is what's responsible for managing and maintaining the purity of the fluids of the body. When blood becomes acidic, when interstitial fluid becomes acidic, it is the stomach that begins producing. That's why people that are running marathons are on the side of the road throwing up. What are they throwing up? Baking soda? No, they're throwing up hydrochloric acid. Well, where did the hydrochloric acid come from? It came from the stomach's lining that's producing baking soda to push to the blood and to the interstitial fluid so you don't shut down and die. Your heart shuts down, stops. The same thing happens when you get the liquid Lucifer inoculated into your bodies, and you wonder why your heart is skipping a beat, why you have heart pain, heart weakness. And the same thing happens on an emotional level. I mentioned it's called a broken heart. A broken heart is painful. And why do you feel it? Because when you have a thought, that thought becomes biology, and that biology is a metabolic waste product that can kill you. Your thoughts and our thoughts kill more people than what we're eating, what we're drinking. Many people out there are suffering because they don't realize that thoughts produce waste that can kill people. That, yes, it is painful, and you are physically, emotionally, mentally feeling this. But you have to understand the biology. If you don't get out of your thoughts, they will eventually kill you.
Okay, Doc, so we're going to wrap this up. Is the creator in the small intestines? You know I'm not giving this up, right? So in all your years of studying, because that is where the blood is made. And what is life? Life is in the blood. Then the creator has to reside there. And could that be why the attack against the human body is focused there? Think about it.
Okay, just one small little word correction. You said life is in the blood. That's not a correct statement. The statement is the life of the body is the blood, not in the blood. The red blood cell is life. It is the primary cell. It is the cell we should be focusing on, not the body cell, not the heart cells. Heart cells are a representation of the blood, and the blood is a representation of the health of the gut, the core, the small intestine.
Thank you, guys. Did you guys hear that? So the creator lives in the small intestines. because
I
that's where
feel it with
everything comes from.
all my core, as God as my witness and my teacher, and has taught me all of my life greater things than any professor or any teacher could ever teach me, other than the philosophies of men mingled with scripture, that my teacher and the school that I've been attending is the Creator School. And you can download that. I'm not privileged to it. I'm just open to it. If you want to know truth, you have to ask for it, and it will be given. All you have to do is ask for it, and it will be given. And I'm not just metaphorically saying that. I'm saying if you go to Dr. Robert Young and ask, I want to learn more. I want to take control of my life. I want to be responsible. I want to improve the quality and quantity of my life. Please send me the knowledge that will allow me to do this for myself and those who I love and care about. That's my promise to you.
Doc, this has been fascinating, wonderful, constructive conversation. And I think this solidifies that you have the expertise and the authority to speak on certain topics. And it is not right that other people out there are saying things without accurate information. Thank you. I think you defended yourself clearly and intelligently. And I think the audience has enough acuity to determine who's telling the truth. Dr. Young, thank you again for all your hard work. And I'm going to have to stop eating meat. But I think my problem are these microchips. They work, yeah. My problem are these microchips. Anyway, we'll talk about that later.
Let me just say one last thing.
Yeah, go for it.
So we can have, that I make sure that you understand perfectly that the ideal pH of the blood is at 7.365 and the ORP ideally is at negative 20.5 millivolts. Okay, when we're talking about the interstitium, the ideal pH is at 8.4, which could be measured by testing your urine at negative 80 millivolts. If you have an injury or if you're dealing with any symptomology, that negative 80 needs to be increased. That pH needs to go up. The blood will not stand it. So you have to hyperperfuse alkalinity into the blood, which will then push it out into the interstitial fluids, which will begin the process of healing. As I mentioned, the pH can be as high as 9, that the charge of that environment can be up as high as negative 120 millivolts. So I just wanted to make sure that I was clear on this. Inside the cell, which is the interstitial fluid, is at 7.35 to 7.450 at negative 25 millivolts. It's a different environment. It has to be slightly more alkaline than the blood, but it produces waste just as the blood cells produce waste, and that waste from the cells or from the blood goes into the largest body of ocean, the largest organ of the body, which is the interstitium, the interstitial fluid, which has then the instructions and the intelligence to move it out through the orifices of the body. If it cannot remove it, it then stores it into what is called the colloidal connective tissue of the shod, or the connective tissue, which is in your muscles, your tendons, your ligaments, and if it keeps building up, then it spills over into the blood, which then leads to leukemia. Leukemia is the simplest condition, and lymphomas are the simplest conditions to reverse, because this program is highly effective in restoring alkalinity, which then restores the normalcy to some of the activation factors, which are the lymphocytes and the granulocytes, such as neutrophils, activities, and T cells that are activated to clean up, no pun intended, the bloody mess that was created through your lack of due diligence and understanding of how to manage and maintain the alkaline design of the human body. That is my premise. That is my hypothesis, that one, the human body is alkaline by creation. Okay, it's foundational, but it is acidic by function. All functions of the human body produce waste products. If not properly eliminated, will cause sickness and disease. Anyone who is sick or has a disease, it's a result of not taking care of the environment. And if you change the environment and stop now, stop it. Stop treating disease. There are no diseases. There are no new viruses. This is all a medical illusion. And it takes you away from what is God-given, takes you away from understanding that the core begins, that core health begins in the gut, in the small intestine. And from that core gives rise to the most important cell of the human body, which is the red blood cell, and its environment I've described. So I just wanted to summarize this so that there was no confusion based upon whatever I have said. I wanted to make sure that you understood this very important information. It is published. It has been peer-reviewed. And I once again send you to drrobertyoung.com, where you can sign up for my scientific articles and enjoy the knowledge, the intelligence that has been given to me as my gift to you. Merry Christmas. God lives. He is in our heavens. We are his children. He loves us. He cares about us. And my voice will never be silenced, either in this life or the next life, as God is my witness.
Doc, thank you so much. This was very constructive, and I liked I really loved how it ended. I know you have to run, and it's 2 hours and 17 minutes. If you'd like to come back on and we can talk about other things, I would love that. And the audience loves you. Give me a date, give me a time, and I'll bring you back on.
I love because I care. And the reason I care is because I love God. And when you love God with all your heart, might, mind, and strength, it then becomes easy to love your neighbor. It becomes easy to give of yourself and to reach out to those who do not know or do not understand and who need help. And that has been my life. My life is about service. It's not about money. It's not about acquisition of wealth in the physical realm. It's about transferring intelligence to, my family, my loved ones, my associates, and to all of humanity for the glory of God.
And you created. You used the wisdom that was given to you from the Creator to create a body of knowledge to share with other co-creators. We were put here to create, and you created. Job well done.
Thank you, Renetta. You're a beautiful soul. Keep caring and keep sharing, because when you care, you can't stop sharing. So I applaud you for that and providing a platform to be able to share.
Yeah. It's good. But never forget, Doc, your creation will live on. Do you understand this?
Yeah, there is no death. There's a death of the physical body, but we are spiritual beings having a physical experience, not physical beings having a spiritual one. And we
And
are
you were put
eternal
here
in
to
nature.
create.
We are eternal in nature.
And you were put here to create.
Right.
What is God if not a creator? And
Out of his
your
own mouth,
creation,
he said, multiply and replenish the earth. The
right? And
foundation of any society, the foundation of it, is a man and a woman, and in their power to procreate, which is a power given on high, is a God-given gift. Because God is the creator, we become creators in the physical realm to be able to bring forth other souls that inhabit these physical bodies.
right,
And
but it's not just Doc, it's not just creating other human beings. When the human beings are created, they were put here to create. You created a body of knowledge from someone
yes,
else's creation, and it will live on. That is your gift. Your gift was to take from what the creator had hidden and to create a body of knowledge and then share that. And then someone else will take that knowledge and then create out of it. So hopefully they create heaven.
well, the time has come where this knowledge is so important for the survival of humanity as we know it today. And I wished, Hosea, who said, "My people perish because of ignorance." Ignorance is the killer here. It's not viral. It's ignorance. It's the lack of knowledge. And when you have this knowledge and you instigate it or institute it within yourself and in your home with your loved ones, you don't have to fear. And fear is nothing more than false evidence appearing real. You can turn to faith, which is the first attribute in thinking healthy. And when you turn to faith, and that faith is not only in yourself and in your loved ones, but faith in God, and you ask, he will give you. This intelligence is available. And like I said again, it's available now. You can have it. You just have to ask for it.
Guys, thank you. Thank you for that, Doc. Guys, please go out there and try to create heaven on earth. We have enough people creating hell on earth. Let us create heaven on earth. What say you, Doc? And then we're out.
I agree. Thank you. God bless you. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And may you be blessed with safety and protection, good health and vitality for all the days of your life.
Thank you, Doc. And guys, thank you. Have a wonderful, wonderful end of the new year. And join me as we do a spiritual cleanse at the end of the year. We're going to cleanse our spirits, the group consultation. We're going to do a cleansing of the spirit by removing evil. And then we will renew our spirits by infusing good. Everyone, please be there for the last group training. Doc, thank you. And I hope to have you on again, okay? All right, thank you. Bye, Doc.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. Guys, next week is the last group training of the year. We're going to do some deep, deep cleansing so that we can remove the evil from in us and regenerate the good in us. Guys, I believe, and this is my opinion, and I'm not forcing my opinion on anyone. We were put here to create. We are co-creators. They are creating hell on earth. We must create heaven. Okay? And with that, I love you guys. I get it wrong a lot of the times. Okay? But I try. I try. Go out there and do good to those who deserve it and run from evil. Have a wonderful day, guys. Love you guys. Bye.